Swaay.Health.
Hey everyone, I'm John Lynn, the founder of Swaay.Health. We're excited to bring you another in our series of interviews with top leaders in healthcare marketing. And our guest today is Saul Marquez. He's founder and CEO at Outcomes Rocket. Welcome, Saul.
Hey, such a pleasure to be with you, John, and everyone. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, excited to learn from you. I think you take a really interesting approach to healthcare marketing that I think our Sway Health community will appreciate. But before we dive into today's topic, tell us a little bit about yourself and Outcomes Rocket.
Yeah, hey, John, thank you, and thanks everyone. You know, a few years ago left a long-term med tech device job as an executive. I remember the day to this day. I was in San Diego. Palms were sweaty. My heart was beating out of my chest, and I was taking that leap of faith. That leap of
Mhm.
faith in myself. Because I had reached this point, John, where I was done climbing the ladder and I wanted to do something more meaningful. And I had seen many companies while at like my last job, Medtronic, smaller firms wanting to do well by doing good, and many of them failing. 50% of companies fail within the first 5 years, and 97% fail within the first 10 years. And I said, there's a huge need here. And so I went from climbing the ladder to our goal today is to serve 5,000 healthcare leaders, brands, and organizations, helping them make the best of what they have in the market. And so that's why we exist today. Haven't looked back since, John, but I look sideways sometimes. Haven't looked back, and it's been a really nice journey building Outcomes Rocket, our team, and serving the customers that we get to serve.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you offer a wide variety of services at Outcomes Rocket, but I think you're probably most well known for your podcasts and the podcasts you produce for companies and yourself. I think for people probably first know you, I don't know if this is true, but my guess is they first know you as the podcaster and then, oh, wait, you have all those other services? It's
Yes,
probably
sir.
a challenge, but talk to me about podcasts. Do you think podcasts have kind of reached a saturation point because they're just popping up everywhere?
They're popping up everywhere, and what I would tell you is that they have not. Actually, they're far from a saturation point. I will tell you though, if you look in your rearview mirror and you think back to when they first were cool, now they're more commonplace, right? I'd still say they're cool, but like when they were novel, right? Like compared to when I first launched my podcast 7, 8 years ago, we were like one of the few healthcare podcasts available,
Yeah.
right? And that's what helped us grow was that land grab at the beginning. Today, when you compare it to back then to today, it might feel saturated. But if you actually take a look at overall adoption of podcasts by businesses in the industry, we're only scratching the surface. If you compare podcasts to blogs, for example, barely scratching the surface. We're maybe at about 10% penetration at best. I think what ends up happening is the most common mistake, especially B2B companies make, is that they're going to build an audience and monetize it. And that couldn't be further from the truth. John, you would know that better than anybody else running a media company. It is hard to build an audience. And then it's even harder to monetize that audience once you've built it. So, what I'll share with everyone is we're not saturated, the opportunity is big. What you have to look at is the model. And most people think build the audience. What I'm going to tell you is that's important, but what's even more important is your guest. Who you have on your podcast is 10 times more important than the audience that you build. If you're a B2B company, big difference in B2C. We could have a different conversation on B2C.
Sure.
But on the B2B side, if you build a podcast that adds value to your ideal client, and your ideal client is also your ideal guest, your podcast now becomes a great top of funnel tool that also opens up doors in a friendly way to the people you want to speak with about using your service or products. So that's what I would say. We're not saturated. And if you flip the model on its head and start building it based off of your guest versus your listeners, you're gonna make some huge headway.
It's so fascinating you compared it to blogs, because I actually feel like it's exactly the same as the blogs. When I first started blogging, everyone launched a blog, right? And then, a few years later, they all burnt out and said, man, time is the number one winner and has destroyed every content mechanism ever, right? Because you just can't keep up, right? And time is incessant. And then I look at podcasts, they're popping up everywhere. And then it's going to be, I think it's going to be even worse than blogs, because it takes more work to produce a podcast, and they're going to look at the numbers and they're going to see 20 downloads and 10 downloads, and they're like, why are we doing this? So I think your point about making sure you understand the model, and not just looking, not having some expectation that it's Joe Rogan that's going to get a million downloads, let alone 1,000 downloads, right? Like,
Exactly.
it takes work to get there. So anyway, it'll be interesting to see it play out. And so I think you have to have a sustainable effort and approach, because I think you're right. What is your business model? And I'll tell you, you're right. If it's dry views, all of those podcasts are going to dry up, I think. But so you shared one thing that companies maybe don't understand about it, right? That's not views, it's about the guest. Anything else you'd add as far as what companies should need to understand about what it takes to do a podcast well?
Yeah, look, what I would share is it does take a lot. And if there's a reason why the average podcast stops after 7 podcasts. Like, many get beyond that, but the average podcast stops after 7. And that's because they realize there's so much involved in the production process, in reaching out to guests, in editing the episodes and putting the show notes together. The good news is there's 2 paths. Today, there's AI, which is better than it's ever been. And there's also agencies and teams. I would tell you is that if you're bootstrapping it, use AI to get your stuff out there. AI exists today on the audio front, on the video front, on the show notes front, on the distribution front, like on everything. So leverage AI to bring scalability. And part of that scalability too is I'm going to give you I'm going to give away one of our biggest secrets. So this is the secret, is that you could create a show that has the same questions every single time, and your guests are all different. And the way that we make most podcasts scalable and less work for all of our clients is we create a set of 5 to 7 questions. Those 5 to 7 questions tie into a theme that's very important to that particular guest and that particular company. Nail those down and you eliminate most of your prep time. On the other hand, if you want something if you're a brand that really cares about your image, don't let AI do the work. Like, work with an agency like ours. We'll make it completely turnkey, reasonably priced, and you're gonna be having a studio-like quality podcast that not only looks and sounds great, but opens up doors to your ideal customers. We got a call the other day from a great customer of ours that was celebrating, and he had just closed. And the beauty of healthcare, as you all know, they're big deals, right? So this customer literally just closed a $900,000 deal. They're 11 months into our engagement, and they're like, how do we multiply this? So they're super thrilled. And when you do it right, you will get wins. So those would be my pieces of advice.
That's so interesting. It's great that you're able to tie it directly back as well. I think there are a bunch of approaches, right? And I think that is the key, because people are like, let's just have a podcast, and they think they just sit down and record it and then they're done, right? It just publishes it. They forget about the editing, the distribution, even the prep work of the questions, like you said, or let alone coordinating schedules and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? There's a lot to do it. You need to figure out the right process. But you mentioned AI, which I think is interesting. How do you see AI impacting marketing? You talked a bit about how it's impacting podcasts, and how should healthcare organizations be approaching AI in their marketing?
Yeah. Hey, John, great question. And look, I go back to this. Any discussion around marketing. Marketing falls under 3 main buckets. There's earned media, owned media, and paid media, right? Those are the three. Earned media is getting opportunities on your show. John, thanks for having me. This is awesome. I appreciate the opportunity.
Definitely.
There's media mentions. John writes about you, or another journal covers you. Underpaid, it's your paid advertising on social. It's paid programmatic advertising. It's going to conferences. Those are paid opportunities where you get masses of people in front of your offering. And then finally, there's own media. It's all the assets that you own: your website, your copy, your SEO, your socials. So everything falls under there. And now here's the deal: all of that those are the tactics. And so when you take a look at AI, it's another tactic. I would say it's a layer above the tactics. So these are the mechanisms of deployment. There's people, there's technology, right? And so when you talk about people and technology, as far as how you execute on your goals, it's critical. But before any of that, tactics, I want everybody to take this quote home. Tactics are the noise you hear before the war is lost. And so if you start thinking about a podcast or AI or TikTok videos, whatever, those are all tactics. If you are not buttoned up on your strategy, what is strategy? It's having clear brand alignment. It's having that brand purpose, the mission, right? Your pillars. Under that is your personas. Are your personas crystallized? Have you gut tested your personas?
Yeah.
Below that is your messaging architecture. So is your messaging architecture well aligned, that it hits on all the pain points, that positions your company with a unique selling proposition, that differentiates you in the market, and actually allows people to see you as there's nothing else like it? Because if everything under that strategy pillar that I just shared with you is not in place, you're going to be going down rabbit holes, and AI is one of those. Now, with that being said, I just want to start with that.
Yeah.
I think AI is a tool. It's basically a deployment tool. So what do we have within our opportunities to execute? We have people, we have resources, and AI is one of those resources. So I think AI is massive. I think what's happened with Gen AI in this last year, the last 2 years, has been explosive, and we're seeing more and more. So content development has changed forever. Like today, there's different flavors of AI. There's Chat GPT, there's Claude. Then inside of Chat GPT, there's all the GPTs that have specialty frameworks, like the marketing GPTs. If you haven't tried them, you got to, because there's some really cool use cases within those. Then there's other tools that there's a really great website that I love that I would recommend to everybody. It's called There's an AI for That. I don't have you know do you know about that one,
I
John?
hadn't seen that. That's
Oh
interesting.
man. Okay. So I'm a geek with this stuff, and There's an AI for That is a website where literally, like, if you're wondering if there's an AI, go
There is.
type it in their search engine and they'll give you the list of AIs.
Well,
Because
it's
guess
funny you
what?
say that, because I
Yeah.
was thinking about your list, right? Even the strategy. At first, I was like, well, you can't give AI the strategy, but you're like, no, actually, you could use it to brainstorm some of your strategy. And then
You
you're like,
could.
well, personas, of course, you can ask it for personas. Sure, you need to tweak it and whatever, but it can assist you with personas. Well, what tools should you use? You could use it for that, and understanding what tools, like, let alone the content creation, which is the obvious one that people go to, right? But I think right now, at least, I think most of us agree the AI can assist us to be more effective at it. We aren't quite at the agentless. Create a strategy, create the personas, target the personas, and those are all just AI agents that do it for us. But it's close, but
It's
not quite.
close. It's close. It's close. The last thing that I'll share here, and I think it's something for all of us to think about. Where the puck is going with AI and content and marketing is this. So just about a month ago, Google announced Synth ID. And Synth ID is essentially a watermarking technology that watermarks written, visual, and audio AI generated content. As we have the privilege of AI for developing content, we also have the responsibility in understanding, is it AI generated or not? So Synth ID, think of it as like a dollar bill. When you put it up, it could see it lays in code to text inside of the pixel. It will actually lay in watermarks to understand if it's AI generated or not. In audio, it actually will take basically a imprint of what the audio films look like, and it will let you know if it's AI generated or not. So what does that mean for us as marketers? We need to make a choice of disclosing when we use it in order to not cost us credibility. I would tell you that it's like, I did a post recently where I said, hey, I use AI. Like, I was just at Health and I did a whole post on summary. I used AI for that. I did all the transcripts. I did 43 interviews at Health. I transcripted all those and I created some awesome insights. But I let everybody know, hey, Gen AI helped me come up with this. So I think responsibility is key. There's going to be more transparency measures, and especially in healthcare.
Yeah, that's really interesting and definitely something to watch. This whole disclosure thing is going to be wild to see it play out. Yeah, I saw someone say that search engines kind of took access to information and said, forget about it, it's easy to do. And ChatGPT and LLMs are doing the same for content, which we'll see, right? It's definitely moving quickly, and how people approach it and what fences they put around it are going to be really interesting as well.
For
Well,
sure.
as we wrap up, is there a healthcare marketing trend maybe not enough people are talking about, but maybe they should be? Is there something that you're keeping an eye on? Obviously, we talked AI, we talked
Yeah.
podcasting. Anything else that you're like, they need to know this?
This is left field, but it's Reddit.
Mm.
So look, and why? So they just IPO'd this year. And so with that IPO, they definitely have increased their quality of moderation in each. So Reddit and subreddit, if you're looking to resonate with specific audiences, I would recommend that you strongly take a look at target audience information inside of subreddits. It is some of the most overlooked user experience
Raw.
content, raw, right? Like, if you want to find pain points and be able to enter stream of consciousness to some of your key buyers, and you haven't taken a look at Reddit, definitely take a look at that, because it's really helped us create campaigns and messaging strategies that have resonated big time. And we're seeing that in conversion rates for ad copy, or conversion optimization on websites. So it's working for us. Definitely take a look at that. I think it'll be early on if you start doing it before it starts catching on.
Yeah. Well, I think many will say, well, is Health IT on it? But just search for Epic and Cerner and find the subreddit, and you'll be
You'll
shocked
find
by
it.
what people are saying,
You'll
right?
find it.
But it's also interesting, I would have thought of from a traffic standpoint, but you said it from an intelligence standpoint, which I think both are potential opportunities with Reddit. Maybe
I agree.
yours being even bigger, because Reddit people don't like links, depending on what your link is. But
Exactly.
so where can people go to learn more about you and Outcomes Rocket, and how they can learn more about what you're doing?
Hey, John, really appreciate that. Look, for anybody out there, what we talked about today is tip of the iceberg. If you're a business in healthcare that is doing $1 million or more, or if you have raised 5 million or more in venture capital, we want to talk to you because we know we could help you succeed. Outcomesrocket.com/grow. We have a 20-minute blueprint session where we'll literally talk to you about any of the challenges you're having, any of the pillars of marketing, the strategy to help you take your business to the next level. I hope to see you there. And if you're not there in revenue, just go to that link anyway, outcomesrocket.com/grow. We put a lot of stuff out there. We give away our best stuff in our media interviews, just like we did today with John. Outcomesrocket.com/grow. Look forward to seeing you guys there.
Great. Thanks, Sal. Appreciate you being on here. And Appreciate Outcome Rocket sponsoring the upcoming Swaay.Health Live in California. It's going to be exciting to have you there and your team. So thanks so much. And thanks everyone for watching and listening. If you want to find more great healthcare marketing content like this, be sure to check it out at Swaay.Health or search for Swaay.Health on your favorite podcast applications. Thanks, Saul.
Thanks, John. Thanks, everyone.